Hello, I'm Jay Nicoll from Nicoll Investigations. I'm here to tell you about an Ontario Cold Cases special. This one's about Canada's useless parole board. In today's Toronto Sun, Brad Hunter writes, "My rights didn't matter. At 11, she was tied to a tree and sexually assaulted by a monster. When a parole officer said he was safe enough to walk down the road, she wanted answers and found the system cared more for his feelings than her right to know. Killers have their rights. The parole board all about sicko, hoping to find victim would just go away. Carrie Keogh was not important, nor was what she had to say. What mattered most were the rights and feelings of a convicted killer and violent sex offender, Richard Charles Joyce. Welcome to the Parole Board of Canada. My rights were unimportant. My rights to information, my right to be heard," Keogh told the Toronto Sun. What was really important to them were his rights, his privacy. In the summer of 1990, when Keogh was 11, she was snatched off the street in downtown Kingston. Joyce, a smirking monster, sexually assaulted her and terrorized her with a knife. Tied to a tree, the terrified child had one thought going through her mind. "I knew he intended to kill me." That was Joyce's intention less than 1 year later, when he and an accomplice robbed Nozzle's Gas Bar in Kingston. Owner Yvonne Rouleau, a married mother of 3, was tortured with a knife to open the safe and then murdered so she couldn't identify her killers. A year later, Joyce was sentenced to 25 years in prison. In January 2011, he was convicted of a sex assault on a young girl in 1990, and 6 months later, 2 more historic sexual assaults on young girls. He was sentenced to an additional dozen years. But Joyce, now 55 and caged in British Columbia, appears to have a benefactor in his parole officer, one Eleanor Creighton, who suggested at his hearing in September that the killer could just walk down the road if he wanted. Everything she said would be fine. He is trustworthy. Keogh filed a complaint about her poor treatment and what she viewed as the misleading comments of Joyce's parole officer. She also wanted a transcript for inaudible portions of the hearing. Whoops, sorry. The victims of crimes ombudsman agree Keogh had been mistreated. Keogh claims that at his Parole Board of Canada hearing on September 7, 2023, when Joyce was looking for escorted day passes, Creighton made false and misleading statements to the PBC members so the killer would be successful in his bid. Joyce had been behind bars for 32 years. About 30 members of the public attended the hearing in person, while 82 across the country wanted to log into the hearing remotely, organized and paid for by Keogh. But her head exploded when Creighton described Joyce as being in a position of trust. He wasn't. Keogh said Creighton told the PBC he could have easily, by all means, just walked down the road. Creighton then demurred when asked by board members who exactly put Joyce in a position of trust in which he could walk away from Williams Head Penitentiary. Keogh remains baffled as to why Creighton would portray Joyce as a model prisoner. "Model prisoners don't become pedophiles," Keogh told the Toronto Sun. "Pedophiles become model prisoners." After a long run around, the victims of crimes ombudsman determined Keogh's rights were infringed. Initially, the Kingston nurses' requests for information were torpedoed. "The PBC told me I didn't have a right to that information. Oh, we're sorry," they said, but the ombudsman was crystal clear, she said. They were very concerned about what his rights were. My rights didn't matter. I was an inconvenience. The parole board was now concerned, she guessed, about a potential media circus, and she was invited to correction headquarters in Kingston. When the PBC employees told me I had to be prepared for Joyce getting escorted passes because Canada does not warehouse offenders for the rest of their lives, Keogh said. They were hoping I would just go away. She said in 2011, I was told that Joyce would never again see the light of day. The mom of 4 remains mystified by a process that leaves victims in the dust. Exactly why Creighton described Joyce as being in a position to trust when he clearly wasn't is equally vexing. After being pressed by Keogh, the acting warden at Williams Head told her Creighton now regrets her statements on Joyce's behalf. He said in an email that we're all human and make errors in judgment. The warden disputed any inappropriate relationship or attempts by the officer to manipulate the process. However, he said the situation was addressed and the parole officer assumed ownership of her words and their impact. Why would someone say those things, particularly about a convicted child rapist and murderer? Who sticks their neck out for a psychopath, she asked. Another striking question is that with a trio of child sexual assault convictions and a torture murder under his belt, why isn't Joyce being declared a dangerous offender? That's a good question. Should he be a dangerous offender? Yes, but I was told years ago he was never ever getting out of prison, she said. Faint Gambit in 2010 was scuttled. As for his recent efforts, I didn't know this was coming. I didn't know it was possible. It doesn't make sense. This would not have happened under the Conservatives, she said. Offenders, killers, and pedophiles have their rights, but what about the victims? She added, but in the end, no one will be held accountable for the way I was treated. They told me Joyce was leaving prison in a body bag. Now she has to wait an estimated 95 days for a request for information, but she may still not get the documents she requested. With the Parole Board of Canada, sometimes better late than never is the best one can hope for.